This FedGov Today program is sponsored by Verkada Federal. On this edition of FedGov Today, AI and data skills are a must now at NGA. Building a virtual perimeter to drive security success and a collaboration across government to stop pig butchers. Welcome to FedGov Today in Washington, D.C. and around the world on the American Forces Network. I'm Francis Rose. New employees at the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency will take AI and data management training as part of the process of joining the agency now. The Associate Director for Operations at NGA, Rear Admiral Michael Baker, says current employees will get training too. Michelle Ayton is Chief AI Officer at NGA. Michelle, welcome. It's great to have you on the program. How's AI changing the landscape of what you're doing at NGA?
Really in every possible way. So the entire scope of mission at NGA is transforming thanks to our new technologies. We're making every effort to integrate them into every part of what we do, so accelerating our capabilities, augmenting our workforce, really transforming the entire landscape of the way that we do business, the way that we deliver data and services to the warfighter and our partners, and really like everyone that is a member of NGA.
How are you using those tools that exist, and how are you accommodating them to the mission of NGA?
So I would say that we're quite flexible. We're a buy first and build second organization, but we focus on being data centric and empowering the workforce to be innovators themselves. We have a great deal of respect for the expertise that we've built throughout the many decades of serving our country. And I think that one of the best ways for us to empower the workforce is to put those tools in their hands, give them the training and the technologies that they need to be able to be innovators themselves.
I'm not thinking about specific tools, but how do you analyze the tasks at hand and the missions that individuals or teams need to perform and determine which tools sync best with the mission outcomes you're looking for?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we do that in multifaceted ways. So one of those ways is for us to put our AI SMEs, sit them side by side with the warfighter, with our workforce, to make sure that we genuinely understand the requirements. I call this like sharing the pain with them, right? So sitting there side by side and really genuinely understanding like what's the job to be done, and making sure that when we purchase a capability that it is integrated properly. When we build a capability, that it is built to spec, it is mission focused, and that we deliver a solution. We just don't walk away delivering a tool, that we deliver a community, like we unite people because we're delivering a capability that they need. And even if we have to leave with an 80% solution in place, we stay in touch with those individuals and we make sure that we have a very tight OODA loop. We get feedback about the capabilities and we iteratively improve those capabilities until we deliver a solution, and we continue to deliver a solution that meets their expectations and then exceeds them.
I want to come back to the OODA loop concept in a moment, but how much of those conversations are informal, 2, 3, 4 people around a table just going, well, I need some of this and I can deliver some of this, and how much of it is a formal use case preparation, that kind of thing?
Well, I would say that that's also a combination, a multifaceted approach, right? So sometimes it's warranted that we send somebody to the field. You get somebody at the edge, right? You share their pain points, you understand the context of what it is that they're trying to accomplish. And really it's full spectrum. It could be something that could serve hundreds to thousands to tens of thousands of individuals, or it could be something that, you know, is custom tailored to a dozen people, because around the world, our warfighters and our experts are having impact in every possible way. So whether it's logistics or common operating pictures, regardless of what the situation is, we want to make sure that we deliver the best capabilities to suit that mission-focused purpose.
All right, you used one of the magic words, edge. What's the process now of getting data and the tools to the edge so that the warfighter there can use them? And what's facilitating that in your view?
I think it's a combination of things. There's this element of having fantastic partnerships with our industry partners, really genuinely like understanding the challenges that we've faced in the past, the limited compute, the limited data transfer pipelines, limited capabilities deployment. If we can unite around all of our lessons learned across the entire community, and we can deliver these shared capabilities that are funded and supported by our senior-most leaders, that are custom built to be able to serve across communities. I think that that's really where success lies. We can't just, deliver capabilities in our silos, or even from a perspective of arrogance, right? Like, it is imperative for us to collect these requirements together, have a shared understanding of what we need to deliver, and then defend that and fund it and make sure that we deliver those kinds of capabilities as an entire, one government approach.
You used the term custom built a moment ago, and you said at the beginning of our conversation that you're taking a buy first approach at the agency. How do you determine when there's not really something on the market that suits what we're trying to do? Is it really just a classification level discernment, or are there other factors too?
No, I would say that one example is we've built a capability that is vendor agnostic, right? So under the hood, 95% of the solution is provided by our industry partners. But that portal, the skin on top of that, is what enables our users to be able to interface with these tools under the hood. And it gives us the ability to rapidly change out frontier models under the hood, rapidly add features and capabilities without having to go through a lengthy acquisition or change management lifecycle. So I think it's important for us to balance those equities, and maybe that 5 to 10% build solution is what I've found to be the sweet spot between making sure that we buy everywhere that we can, we take advantage of American ingenuity, we take advantage of our industry partnerships, but we also respect that our government staff has the subject matter expertise to really be at the edge of the development of those keys to the kingdom, and also they have the subject matter expertise to really be the leaders in the development direction for the benefit of mission.
Are the best practices for using AI at an organization like NGA the same as at another intelligence organization or another military organization, or are there some that are unique to the mission of the agency?
Of course, there are some that are going to be unique because we are the experts in geospatial analysis and geospatial services and data. However, I would say the lion's share of those best practices are shared across the entire government and really across the American people. I encourage people all the time. I do a lot of my own desk side training, a lot of teaching events, partnering with our NGA college to ensure that not only are we teaching, face to face, but we also have teaching capabilities embedded inside of our tools. So we have AI mentors that we have developed that understand how to, because we've built in these chat instructions, if you will, these personas, to be able to elicit the questions from our users to say, you're going to have to go on this custom AI learning journey with us, and we want to make sure that you are best able to develop the capabilities yourself that suit your specific mission needs. This kind of comes back full circle to what I was saying earlier about empowering everyone to be an innovator themselves. So this is an important part of that kind of learning journey, is having a full spectrum of different kinds of learning opportunities available to you, so that you can take a classroom experience and then you can also have a continuous learning journey with your AI capabilities as well.
We have less than a minute left. When you do those teaching events, what are the skills gaps that you see, what people don't have versus what you would like them, what the agency would like them to have?
Well, first and foremost, I want people to believe in themselves, right? To believe in their capacity and their capability to embrace these technologies. Don't be afraid of them, right? You are subject matter experts, and it is my responsibility to make sure that you have the tools that you need in order to do your mission better, right? We absolutely, genuinely respect and we want to preserve the expertise of our warfighters and of our workforce, and we want to put the tools in their hands that help them do those daily tasks, the repetitive tasks, the onerous tasks more quickly, more efficiently, and more effectively, and empower them to free up their time to do the things that they do best, the critical thinking skills, the analysis, the other kinds of jobs that really at the end of the day, humans do best, right? We're the ones that have the compassion and the empathy and the patriotism to be able to deliver the solution for the American people. So we want, I think from an AI perspective, to provide you with the tools that will empower you to do that best.
It's great to have you on the program, Michelle. Thanks for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me.
You can read more about AI at NGA on today's show page at fedgovtoday.com. Up next, building a virtual perimeter to drive security success. FedGov Today continues in just a moment.
Innovation doesn't wait, and neither do we. At Maximus, we solve problems, streamlining operations, delivering solutions at speed and scale that drive measurable results. From strategy to execution, we simplify complexity, building trust through expertise and innovative technology. Every service, every time. Efficient government delivered. We don't follow innovation, we drive it. Maximus.
This was an epiphany for somebody who's been in cyber for 25 years, responding to threats and attacks. To suddenly unleash a weapon of this size without controls is really kind of scary. Now, the government's been working on a lot of responses to that. I give them a lot of credit for it, but we can't release these models without guardrails. And going forward, we're going to see more and more companies, OpenAI and Google Gemini, having the capabilities as well. AI has become a weapon.
Welcome back. Old-fashioned perimeter protection is out and zero trust style protection is in for federal agencies, according to security professionals across government. But the definition of perimeter protection may be open to change. Dan Gosley is head of federal at Verkada. Dan, welcome. It's great to have
Thanks.
you on the program.
Likewise.
You wrote recently about this term virtual perimeter. What does that mean, especially to security professionals in government?
Yeah, it means a lot of different things, right? Because we deal with military bases that are very expansive. We deal with national parks that are very expansive. We deal with schools. And so it really depends. But the essence of what we're getting at Verkada is how do we protect perimeters so we can extend that security, aperture further out and protect people and assets at the end of the day. And that's what we're doing.
That's the essence of what military organizations talk about and increasingly civilian agencies talk about securing the edge. Is that a fair observation on my part?
What people are looking for now is having AI at the edge, right? Typical security cameras don't give you the AI that you'd want. So when you put a device out in the field or you put it far away, you just don't have the bandwidth to have guards everywhere. So how do you leverage technology to get those threats, near-term threats, to a device so you can be notified on your phone that, hey, there's someone out there in the field? We talked a little bit about some examples, you and I, prior around some of these really historic events. Like we talked about the Artemis launch and how do you protect perimeters that are very large but very important, right? Those assets and the critical infrastructure is really important to guard against any bad actors, and you can't fly drones. And so what do you do? And so what we've done is we've put our AI devices out at the edge, whether it's along a beach line or around the fence line or it's out in open fields. And then with the use of AI, you can build digital parameters, right? Digital zones. And that way, if you walked into those zones at 2 a.m, I could be notified that, hey, someone's there. In a traditional sense, you can't afford to run cabling and video cameras and you don't have enough guards. So what do you do? And
I imagine another challenge is not just the size of those fields, but the fluidity of them too, changing all the time.
That's correct. In fact, we've been asked to help the military recently, and we leaned in. It was a little bit of a heavy effort, but we leaned in and helped 2 major air shows, 500,000 people. And what we found was, because we are a cloud-based product, we're able to share the information with local law enforcement. And so we did the one here at Andrews Air Force Base. We did the one at Miramar. 400,000 people at Miramar on a weekend, and we tracked people coming in. And again, we're not tracing and tracking individuals, but we're able to notify people if there's a suspicious person. And San Diego Police Department was there, and we're able to integrate all these systems into one. And I won't name which one, but there was some foreign actors doing some suspicious behavior around suspicious assets of the military, and they were able to hone in quickly and get someone there, local law enforcement, to that site and be able to find out what's going on. So that's the kind of stuff that we can do using AI.
What are the major issues involved in that data flow? Local law enforcement, I imagine in some cases there's state, provincial, tribal law enforcement, federal law enforcement, military, a lot of information flow in a lot of different directions, I imagine.
Yeah, they do. In traditional sense, you have different systems, right? They're all stovepiped. Well, when you move to the cloud, you mentioned zero trust. When you move to the cloud, you can start to share that data, whether it's on your phone, whether it's a computer in a cruiser, whether it's on a mobile, like a mobile command center. And so we're able to set those up very quickly because we are cloud native and we don't have to have servers and NVRs and all these heavy architecture. So literally, you take a device, you connect it to Starlink, or you connect it to any sort of communication. We also have a secure encrypted stuff that we work with military. But within minutes, we can have information up. So we did a flyaway kit, for example. You can drop it out of a plane, and let's say you and I are in the middle of overseas somewhere, and we need to protect the perimeter. We can set that up in 20 minutes. And now back here, at the Pentagon or wherever else, you can control and see what's going on at the edge. And if someone enters our digital zone at 3 a.m, we now have eyes on. And that's the kind of stuff we can do very quickly.
We have less than a minute left. What kind of infrastructure is usually lacking when you go into organizations and talk to them about solutions like this?
Unfortunately, what we've seen, and I've been here 3 years now, and what I've seen is that a lot of the existing systems are down. Maintenance costs are very expensive, and people can't maintain those, and so they're kind of stuck. And so what they do is they come to us and say, hey, look, what is the total cost of ownership of modernizing? And a lot of times pretty heavy. So what we've seen is until the cloud came to be, it was very difficult to modernize, and that's been a major changing factor for a lot of these agencies. Dan,
it's great to have you on the program
again.
Thanks,
likewise.
Thanks for joining me today. You can read more about cybersecurity on today's show page at fedgovtoday.com. Up next, a collaboration across government to stop pig butchers. FedGov Today continues in just a moment.
Federal agencies face growing cyber threats, tighter budgets, and increasing pressure to do more with less. Smarter security for efficient budgets and teams. The Tech Transforming Government Ops explores how government and industry leaders are modernizing cybersecurity operations, improving visibility across hybrid environments, reducing complexity, and using AI and automation to strengthen mission outcomes. Watch the full program now at fedgovtoday.com/smarter security.
The thing about adversaries is they're using AI to create what are called target packages so that they can look at all your social, they can understand your habits, how to target you directly. And if you're wearing a glucose monitor that is right there and it's visible in some of your pictures, they can then do research and use that as an avenue of attack. So with AI comes a tremendous speed of targeting that was unheard of before.
Welcome back. The Justice Department's Criminal Division leads a strike force fighting scammers in Southeast Asia that steal from victims using crypto. The Secret Service is one of the agencies that's contributing to the strike force, along with the State Department, Treasury, and Commerce. Josh First is assistant to the special agent in charge at the Secret Service. Josh, welcome. It's great to have you on the program. What's the Secret Service's role in contributing to this task force?
So most people think the Secret Service is the protection battle, the sunglasses and the earpieces, but really we were dual tasked in 1865 to protect the nation's financial infrastructure. So they brought us on, DOJ along with the FBI, to be part of that strike force to look at the financial part of it, following the cryptocurrencies that goes along the blockchain, what are the off-ramps of how they're moving the money to those bad actors overseas, and identifying those, helping it identify those bad actors and clawing that money back for U.S. citizens.
What's the implication for the fact that blockchain was established specifically not to leave the markers that a law enforcement organization would use to do the tracking you just described?
That's a great question. So I think there's a little bit of a misconception. Cryptocurrency and the blockchain, as much as it gives anonymity to those bad actors, it also is a public blockchain. So you can follow that money along step by step. You may not know who's behind it, but you can follow where that money is going. So our goal is to identify those bad actors on the back end when they're trying to take the money off the blockchain. They have to do it through various exchanges or banks. And we're there to try to identify those people on the back end, looking at them and getting that money back.
Are there implications for the work that you do because of the fact that this is a transnational effort and that these people generally don't work anywhere close to the United States geographically?
Yeah, that's one of the most difficult parts of this types of investigation is because we're primarily focused on Southeast Asia, Laos, Myanmar, Cambodia. These folks make it very difficult for us to identify who they are and go and get that money back. We have to really be dedicated to following it along the blockchain, identifying those off-ramps, as well as how is that money getting from our folks here in the United States over there. They're doing it through a myriad of ways, through money mules here domestically. We need to identify those folks. We need to identify the bad actors who are laundering the money. A lot of it's being money laundered through Chinese money laundering organizations. Who are those folks doing that money laundering? And then again, who's on the back end? Who's receiving those proceeds coming from the U.S. citizen?
One of the challenges I imagine of this is that the nature of it is different than a lot of criminal operations that you undertake. The term that I read about is pig butchering. A lot of them are romance-oriented schemes where somebody convinces someone online to send them money voluntarily. What does that mean for the way that you go about pursuing these operations?
That's a great question. It's difficult because the initial part is talking to victims. They have their hearts, in many ways, hearts broken. They're losing their life savings. They're losing their college educations or their grandchildren's college educations. Their home, money to buy a home. That's what makes these crimes so difficult because it's such a personal, criminal defrauding. So that first step of talking to those folks, dealing with what they're going through, and then following the step by step. These criminal organizations, the bad actors behind it, have really focused on the psychological component of it, how they can most impact dealing with those folks or dealing with those victims, how they can psychologically pull them in and building that relationship. It doesn't necessarily always be romantic. It can be a friendship component. Especially since COVID, we're seeing so many folks who are just longing for that companionship and that connection, and they're preying, those bad actors are preying upon those victims. That psychological part of it.
I mentioned at the beginning of the conversation some of the agencies that are involved in this task force. And I read that before this task force was formed, a lot of these organizations were moving independently. What's the process been to bring them together, to bring this collaboration together with the other organizations you're working with?
Right, that's been a very important part of the strike force. This past summer in 2025, the Department of Justice U.S. Attorney's Office in Washington, D.C., run by Janet Pirro, a U.S. attorney, she came to us and said we need to do something more. She was hearing from too many victims, and so she felt it was a better strategy to go ahead and do a whole of government approach. So she approached the FBI and approached the Secret Service to come together and really dedicate a larger amount of resources instead of doing onesies and twosies of how we approached dealing with this type of fraud. And so we got in the same room and really began to work through each agency's kind of specific specialties and how we dealt with that. So on our side, it was the financial component. On the FBI, they deal with the financials, but also the human trafficking component of it, looking at the other ties to both the national security and as well as how those different agencies, or the FBI touches domestically and internationally. And so what has happened from there has been taken not just the governmental approach, but bringing in the private partners as well, looking at the telecom industry, looking at the financial component of various exchanges, looking at internet service providers, things like Starlink, as well as the social media companies, Meta, Microsoft, all those who have a different hand and playing a different part in how this fraud is done. We're bringing them to the table to really not just whole of government, but whole of kind of the country itself, and bringing all those components to fight it.
When you got all those government stakeholders in one place and started to kind of think through what everybody's capable of doing, how did you determine, in cases where there were more than one organization capable of delivering some contribution, how did you determine which one went to which?
So it's actually a combined effort. So each country has a team that's dedicated both from the Secret Service and the FBI with an AUSA attached to it. So it's been great in the collaborative component of it where we're able to work together across the span of 2 different agencies focusing on a country on the investigative part. The FBI has their niche. They have a way to get into kind of the intelligence part of it, and we look at the financials. We bring that information together in order to seize money back from the bad actors, in order to identify those high-level perpetrators, those bad actors, and also to go after whether it be sanctions, naming and shaming some of those bad actors, and bringing the whole system to the light instead of keeping it in the dark.
Are there tools that are available to you now, artificial intelligence or something else, that make this job easier, faster, whatever, than maybe would have 5 years ago if you'd tried it then?
Yeah, absolutely. What has kind of evolved is the tracing abilities, watching that money flow on the blockchain. There's private companies that have allowed that to be much easier and much faster than it ever used to be. Instead of doing it by hand, it's all generated via the computer. AI is just now starting to be a very important part of how we are dealing with combating this type of fraud. We are now just beginning to utilize that and analyzing all the data that we have. We have a tremendous amount of data investigatively, and it's now just putting it together, and we're utilizing AI in order to do that.
We have less than a minute left. We talked a little bit before we went on the air that you've been at the agency for 17 years. How does your experience and other assignments there inform the work that you're doing on this task force?
Yeah, I've been with the service for quite some time. I've been able to see the evolution of how this financial fraud has changed. You know, when I first came on with the Secret Service in New York, you know, it was bank fraud and credit card fraud, much more dealing with counterfeit currency, much more hands-on types of fraud. And as the evolution has changed, as we've seen that change over the last 10 years or 15 years or so, as the blockchain has evolved, really being at the forefront of that now and recognizing that the financial infrastructure is now changing electronically and moving towards cryptocurrency in the blockchain.
Josh, it's great to have you here. Thanks for joining me today.
You're welcome. Thank you.
You can read more about the strike force and the other issues Josh and I talked about on today's show page at fedgovtoday.com. FedGov Today continues in a moment.
At the enterprise and at the network level, and that the local post commander, the 3-star down there, said, no, I'm going to own that. I'm going to own the network. And I said, so, sir, all due respect, you can own the force that patrols that fence boundary, you can own the MPs that defend this, and you can own the forces here. But one bad decision you make on a virtual enterprise network can infect the entire army. And I said, you have to understand that dynamic. And I think that's the piece that leaders just need to embrace.
I think there's a lot of great use cases in state and local government agencies. There's some similar things like fraud, waste, and abuse. That happens on the state and local government level as well as federal. The workforce transformation and enabling the workforce to do more with less by weaving in artificial intelligence capabilities into their daily workflows.
Welcome back. The Bureau of Consumer Protection will join other bureaus and offices, the Federal Trade Commission, on a task force on health care. It's one sector the Bureau is focused on to fight fraud. Chris Mufarage, the director of the Bureau of Consumer Protection at the FTC, will tell you about it exclusively on the FedGov Today YouTube channel. If you like what you see on FedGov Today TV, there are hundreds more conversations on our YouTube channel. If you subscribe, you won't miss any of them. FedGov Today TV returns next Sunday morning at 10. I'm Francis Rose. I'll see you then. Thanks for watching. Have a great week.